Live, uncut, unedited.
Hey,
Live.
wonderful guests. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful guests. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Today, we got a great topic. And actually, we won't be on here too long today. We will try to make it last at least 30 to 45 minutes. Want to appreciate you guys for tuning in. This is definitely live, uncut, unedited. And we want to talk about freedom of speech. That's what we want to talk about. We want to talk about Kyrie Irving and Kanye. We want to talk about those two. And in your own words, I need the audience to tell me, did they violate the freedom of speech? Did they violate it? And I want to give a shout out to people. I was always trying to find out what things do we cover in general. Okay, live, uncut, unedited. All right, Nathan, I see you. I see you. Alan, I see you. I see you. I see you. I see you. This is live, uncut, unedited. We want to talk about freedom of speech, people. Freedom of speech. And actually, I will be going live twice tonight. We want to talk about, I have two subjects. I want them on different platforms. So I appreciate those of you that's tuning by way of YouTube and Facebook. Appreciate you for allowing us to come into your home and get the message out. This is live, uncut, unedited. Do me a favor. I need each one of you guys to share this on your platform. And this is just a talk that we want to talk. Our call-in number is 872-299-0808. Again, 872-297-6389. We want to talk about freedom of speech. Do you believe that Kyrie Irving and Kanye, or Ye, what they said was freedom of speech? And that's a question that's want to pose to the audience. And that's all. I need somebody to call on in. We ain't going, hey, I see my partner, Vera Giles Norris. And that's the question I want to ask to the people. So come on in, people. Make sure you share this video. My phone lines are open. I want to talk about freedom of speech. Freedom of speech. And in order to talk about freedom of speech, we got to know what the rules are. And I need you guys to tell me. I'm just going to be like a fly on the wall just listening. I want to hear your opinion, your truth. Your opinion tells me. Don't let your opinion bother my opinion, because I want to hear from you. This is live, uncut, unedited. All right. All right, people. I need y'all to share this video. All right. Someone said, all right, call in, talk to me. I need y'all to call in to come and talk to me now. Come and talk to me. This is live, uncut, unedited. And tell me about freedom of speech. I want some new people that never called in before. Come on, call in and tell me, what do you think about Kanye or Ye and Kyrie Irving speech? Was it freedom of speech? What was it? All right. I think I got a couple of callers calling in. All right. A couple of calling in, and we want to hear what they got to say. All right. All right. This is live, uncut, unedited. Make sure, do me a favor, make sure each and every last one of you share this video. All right, caller 7708. You're live, uncut, and unedited. Let me hear from you, caller.
Hey, Mark.
All right. Hey, how you doing? Who is this? Where you calling from, caller? 7708. That's what I'm talking for. Okay. Hey, Vera. I didn't want you to call in, but since you're here, I want to hear from the other people. I got you for the next show, but that's okay. Hold on, Vera. Let me hear 6970. Where you calling from?
70. That's my number, Mark.
Oh,
I'm gonna go on mute. Yep.
We want to hear from the audience. I want to hear from. Just hold on. 7708. Let me hear from you. Come on, 7708.
How we doing?
So, all right.
Can you? Is there a way to get a true definition of what the freedom of speech is supposed to be?
Yes.
And I ask because when I hear it, what's the definition before we?
Well, no. Well, listen, I'm doing this is a special live, and I'm not really going to participate in it. If I may say, I just want to hear you guys' comments. So
okay.
I'm okay because I don't want to damage myself on this. So I just want to have a listening ear.
I see.
So that's where I'm going with this.
Right.
That's where I'm going with this.
When I hear freedom of speech, it's supposed to be how I hear it, because I don't know the direct literature of what it's supposed to be. But when I hear it, I'm supposed to be able to say whatever that's on my mind, how I feel.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let me help you out on this.
Consequences.
I can help you out on this. I can tell you what it's not. If you go inside of a theater and you scream fire, that's not freedom of speech. And the reason why that's not freedom of speech, because you can have people stampede up by there, somebody get hurt or get killed. So that is not freedom of speech. That's a good example that I can give you right there. You cannot have, or if you holler like, right. Or I'll give you another example. If you go into a place where there's one ethnicity and you get hollering racial slurs and you're different, that may not be freedom of speech as well, because you are exciting a crowd. So that's what I want to tell you. So those are my definitions of what is not. So now you speak now, brother. Go ahead.
Well, so then it's not freedom of speech then. You should be able to say whatever you want to say and have the freedom to do that without any type of repercussions or consequences. I can see in the examples you presented in terms of not inciting any type of violence or excitement or suggesting that there's danger when there in fact isn't. But there are some countries where if you say something out loud, you will almost risk your life by saying that out loud. And I'm thinking here in the United States, because this is not a dictatorship or a country or administration ran that way, you should be able to say whatever you want to say. Without. So when you look at Kyrie and Kanye, it's like, well, they just spoke their opinion and everybody has one. What did they say was so wrong? And who are these people holding them to? Like, what standard are they holding them to? These are just brothers with an opinion. So how is it that it's freedom of speech, but yet when you speak your mind, you lose all type of endorsements and have all type of financial sanctions and things like that? That it don't seem to be freedom of speech then. I'm confused.
Right. I understand you. I understand. So what do you think about? I
don't know. I want to know what the true definition is, to know what the expectation is, because it don't seem like when we put it into practice, it doesn't seem like it's a true freedom to say what you want to say.
Well, I gave you example what it is not. So what do you think about Kanye? I mean, Ye, do you think was that freedom of speech, or wasn't? It was, or it wasn't?
Well, he said what he wanted to say, and no one, he didn't get arrested for it, but he essentially lost almost every partnership that the public put pressure on him to lose. And so he lost a lot of money for saying an opinion, and a lot of what he was saying was in fact. So I may not agree with everything he say, but I can support this black man speaking his mind. So that's just what opinions are. Everyone that got their own opinion. I don't care if it's about race or religion, about money. Everyone should have a right to think what they want to think in regards to that. And we don't have to agree with him. We could just say we oppose it. So what he said didn't boil my blood no much, so I didn't really pay too much attention to it.
Okay.
So I didn't have a problem with it. You know what I'm saying?
So you didn't have a problem. Okay, what about Kyrie Irving when he made his speech?
I think he had a right to say however he felt. You know, he said a lot of things that are thought provoking, and I think there are some people who are just against it because he said the Jewish word or he's mentioned Jewish people. I think anytime you even say that word, they automatically think you're talking bad about them and they call you anti-Semitic when they didn't really, I don't think, did their due diligence to see what he was actually talking about or try to fact check him. People were just coming at him. And look, he lost his Nike endorsement as a result of that. He didn't produce this particular film. He didn't make money off this particular film, and the people that are making money off the film are still making money. They're still being sold. So this man had no say in the production of it. He's not making any money from it, but yet he has had all of the social, political, and financial problems that come along with that. So clearly you don't have freedom of speech, especially if you work for certain entities. You can't just say what you want. So it doesn't make sense. It's contradictory as to what I think it should be.
Okay. All right. Hold it right there, sir. 872-299-0808. Feel free to call in 872-297-6389. We're looking for more callers. We're talking about freedom of speech. And what's your thought of Kyrie Irving and Ye? Yeah, I'm going to pull up a screen with the First Amendment about freedom of speech. And maybe if I play it a little bit, or we could read a little bit of it and share it with, share with you guys and give us so we can get a clear understanding what it is. I told you what it isn't. So maybe I'll give me some screen sharing here. Let me see. And go ahead, my brother. You can continue to talk.
I think that'll help.
Okay, let me put up a screen.
I want to wait till you get his definition because I think that'll really help this conversation.
Well, it's not a matter of me getting.
Even though
I want to hear you guys. I want to hear from you guys.
Yeah.
I want to hear from you guys what it is.
And when it comes to stuff like this, I like to be more well informed. So I'm not thinking it's something and interpreting it a certain way, but in fact, it's not what it is. And so something like this, I can have an opinion, but if something is written in black and white as to how we should, carried out.
But what I did tell you I told you what it wasn't. So if you in the theater and you scream fire and there's no fire, if you go into a crowd of people or a certain race of people and start screaming racial slurs and things like that, you're exciting a riot or something like that. So we know that's what it's not. That's what it's not. That's not freedom of speech. So there are exceptions to every rule. So let me pull this up. Let me see if I can play this a little freedom of speech, and play it.
The First Amendment gives
Okay, hold on. I'm sorry.
Americans 5 basic freedoms: freedom of speech, press, petition, assembly, and religion. While all 5 are important, perhaps freedom of speech is talked about the most. Free speech is the cornerstone of our democracy. Although what you say can have consequences, like losing friends or a job, it gives Americans the right to express opinions without government censorship or control. And more importantly, you can't go to jail for expressing your opinion. It not only protects the speech that people like, but speech that people don't. Because when it comes to free speech, either everyone is protected or no one is at all. It allows citizens to support political movements and candidates. It gives people the power to call out government corruption and abuse. And most importantly, it empowers people to give unpopular opinions. The civil rights movement is a perfect example of free speech in action. During the 1950s and 60s, civil rights activists such as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. were able to use free speech as a tool to force change within society. By exercising their voice, civil rights activists were able to outlaw racial discrimination that plagued the nation. But in today's politically charged climate, some people believe the government should restrict certain speech. But thankfully, because of the First Amendment, everything from car commercials to fiery protests are protected.
All right. I hope that was great for you guys. Did that explain a lot? Hey, caller.
Definitely. It definitely said a lot.
Okay.
It definitely said a lot.
That-
One of the key points is being able to express opinions that are not popular, and being free from any type of government sanctions or anything like that. Can we say that there weren't any consequences? Now they talked about it's not the fact that you can't handle consequences, but it's free of any type of governmental input or anything like that. So you should be able to say whatever you want to say without being arrested, put in jail, or anything like that, detained.
Okay.
But it seemed to be in line what Kanye said and what Kyrie Irving said. Seemed to be very much in line with what that person just said on there.
Okay. Hold it, caller. I got a new call.
Opinion.
Hold it. Hey, caller, that 7344. Come on live. This is live, uncut, unedited. We're talking about freedom of speech. What do you think about Kyrie Irving and Kanye or Ye? Was that freedom of speech? Caller, where you calling from? Come on, caller.
I'm from Chicago, Illinois.
All right. Well, come and talk to us.
Illinois.
Okay, Chicago, Illinois. What are your thoughts?
I listened to the clip you just did about freedom of speech, where it says you are protected from any backlash from the government.
Right.
What you have to understand about it is this. It may not be any backlash from the government, but if you have private contracts, that's a whole different arena, because you have to look at that fine print on the contracts they sign in business or whatever industry they're in, because you can be held accountable for what you say, for who you work for who pays you. That has nothing to do with the federal government. But if you're making racist comments, because I think all people are Americans, we got the same blood, we may not have the same color, but we're living in the same world. So when you speak of hatred and things, you're inciting other people's thoughts. Maybe they want to do it anyway. But freedom of speech says what you just played, no backlash from the government or anything like that. But that does not include outside sources, who you work for, who pays you, who you have a contract with, who you signed your name with. They can dismiss you without even having any problem with it, because they're protecting themselves, because they want all of us to shop with them or, help their businesses make money. When someone makes some comments like that and they've put themselves on a platform that they're racist or inciting riots and things, we're going to stop shopping. So the money side of that says, get rid of them so we can keep making our money. So, yeah, you have freedom of speech, but there are boundaries.
Okay.
And a person should know their boundaries.
Well, let me ask you a question. What about Kyrie Irving and Kanye? What about them? What do you think about their freedom of speech? Was that freedom of speech, or what? Tell me your thoughts about those two.
Well, it's freedom of speech to a certain degree. When you get to the point where you're calling out particular races of people to be derogatory, it's like anti-Semitic. It's like we're African Americans. Now, we don't want anybody, we hate when anybody says anything about us or use the N-word or whatever. So other races feel the same. They want to protect their races too.
So are you saying that they said something wrong? Hold on, sister. Are you saying that they said something wrong? Is that what you said? Is that what I'm hearing? I'm asking.
They said what they wanted to say. That's their freedom. But I don't have to agree with it, and that's my freedom. I feel like saying anything racist against any race is wrong.
Okay.
It's wrong. So that's my speech. I don't agree with what they said or how they, let me put it like this. I don't agree with how they presented it. See, freedom of speech is also how to use your words. You can say what you want to say, but you have to know how to say it.
Can you give me an example?
So anytime you put in...
Can you give me an example of what you're saying?
Okay, for instance, rather than him call out that one race he called out, he could have just said there's a collective body of people that I really don't feel should have all the opportunities that they have. But to just call out the race and say, well, they this and they that, it's like you're attacking that race of people. Now, if he had used that and said African American, we would have been in an uproar.
Okay.
If he had attacked African Americans as a race, we would have been pissed off at Yee Ya, whatever his name is, So I just feel that it's how you use your words in that freedom of speech.
Now, did you hear the thing that that I just played? They said even with the freedom of speech, it may offend some. It may offend some. Everybody have different opinions, and like you said, you don't have to agree with what everybody. You have your own opinion. You have a freedom of opinion too, as well. You know, so that's when
yes, you do.
Yeah, freedom of speech. We know what it's not. But we know freedom of speech is the First Amendment and is protected. Freedom of religion, you know, freedom. You could even be talk against the government, say things against the government. They gave you an example about the civil rights movement. Back in the day, that they didn't want, you know, they felt like that they was done wrong. I'm sorry, and they marched, they protest. There's freedom to march, freedom of right to protest.
Put that together as a people. So the government can't punish them for trying to change something to better the government.
But
so that's why they got protection from the government. What you played shows that you have no backlash from the government. Kanye didn't get no backlash from the government. He got it from, who is it, Nike, whoever he signed a contract with. That's where his backlash came. And his backlash came also from the opinions of the people. That's our freedom of speech.
Okay. Did any one of them get arrested?
Oh no, they didn't commit a crime.
Okay.
They didn't commit a crime. They gave their opinions. But you got to have boundaries on your opinions when you're in business. Just because you get no backlash from the government is not going to protect you against Nike and all these other money-making things you have. So you put yourself on that platform because of your freedom of speech and also your opinion.
Okay. All right, hold it right there, sister.
So it's strange then. So, okay, it's freedom from the government. Okay, we safe on the government side, but when it comes to dealing with the day-to-day people we see on a regular basis, we bet you rather take your job, your livelihood, and everything else. So they not honoring none of that stuff.
They're not the government. They're people. The government is the White House.
Wow.
The government are the politicians. The government has nothing to do with your job, your next door neighbor. If you say something, they want to come bust you in your head because of your opinion. It says from the government. They're about from the people.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
Well,
you know what?
Yeah, we're not gonna lock you up, but we're gonna take everything that you.
You know.
Put yourself in that position for the speech.
Okay. Well, you know you have a right to protest the government.
You do, and you're protected against protest. Not that stuff that Trump did, but you have a right to gather and protest and have freedom of speech. But that still ain't got nothing to do with your job. They ain't got nothing to do with who you work for. Like those people in that insurrection from January. They lost their jobs, lost homes and everything because they thought they were expressing freedom of speech when they were there January 5th. But that was inciting a riot.
And listen, those are one.
Hold
on. What I said. Now, remember earlier what I said. There are some exceptions to the rules, which is I explained what was not freedom of speech. Exciting a riot or like in the theater saying fire and the crowd people, you know. Yes.
But those people felt like they were expressing their freedom of speech because the president told them to come. So look at the punishment they got for expressing their freedom of speech. That's towards the government. So those people were inciting a riot against the government.
Mm-hmm.
But it has nothing to do with your personal stuff, your job, your contracts, how your neighbors look at you. Your neighbors got freedom of speech too. So you go and say something anti-Semitic by one of your neighbors, their opinion is, oh no, we're going to get you off this block because we don't agree with you. That has nothing to do with the government's protection. Whole different level. They're talking about protection against the government doing things to you. They're not responsible for Nike and Adidas and all these other places he has contracts with.
No, well, I think you're missing the point. What I'm trying to get to, listen. When you say when it says freedom of speech, you have a right to speak out. You have a right to your opinion. Your opinion may not be accepted by all, and it's just freedom of speech. As long as you're not exciting a riot or going into a crowd building and saying fire, I mean, it's just, and it's a freedom of religion here. It's a freedom of press, freedom to assemble.
Yeah.
It's all that, you know, and I understand what you're saying about what you're saying, but you still could say some things, and there may be consequences. They may not say nothing, but it may be consequences. So I just want to go ahead, sister.
That's a good example.
Mhm.
Kanye said what he wanted to say. The other guy said what he wanted to say. They exercised their freedom of speech. But guess who got to deal with the consequences? Them.
All right. Yeah.
So free really ain't free.
It's free according to what he played. Okay, for instance, what's the football player
And
that
then
refused to stand up to the national
Colin
anthem?
Kaepernick.
Okay, so he exercised his freedom of speech, right? Now he has no career, so those are his consequences. That wasn't against the government. That was his freedom of speech. But the football team he worked for said, "Oh no, we're not having this." So his consequences was he lost his job. But that's not the government that made him lose his job.
Okay.
They're definitely in cahoots with each other.
Okay, well, hold on. I got a new
Hey,
caller. We want to see what the new caller have to say. 6112. Hey, caller, where you calling from?
Chicago. It's Reb.
Hey, Reb, how you doing? Now what we're talking about here is freedom of speech, and I want you to talk about Kyrie Irving and Kanye, or Ye. I want to pronounce his name right. And what do you think about that? Was that freedom of speech what they said?
I truly believe in what they said. First of all, it is freedom of speech. The thing that gets me, and I've been listening, the thing that gets me is don't allow me to be born inside the world where I have freedom of speech and then turn around and take away from me. I mean, freedom of speech is freedom of speech. You know what I'm saying? But I think for the people that are gonna exercise their freedom of speech and they right to voice, they need to know what they're signing up for. It ain't gonna be no consequences then. You can't care about consequences. You know what I'm saying? And with Ye and with Kyrie, they did the right thing. They ain't do nothing wrong. First of all, they was freedom of speech, and they ain't say nothing wrong when they spoke about where they from or what they have experienced. You know what I'm saying? No, it's not free. It's free to experience it, but it's not free to speak about what it is that you experience. You know, so I mean, like, it's freedom of speech, and everybody got the right to act upon their voicing freedom of speech. It's a free country. So, what comes behind the consequence that comes behind that? That's why I got against it, because then it tells you that you don't have the right and you don't have the freedom. But it's only because those that are in control have a way of blocking you from having the right to say what you want to say. It ain't gonna like I'm the type. It ain't gonna stop me whether I'm rich, whether I'm poor, whether I have or whether I don't. If I have something to say, you ain't gonna stop me or hold me from not saying it because what you think you got control over. I don't care. I lose everything. You know what I'm saying? That's where it got to get to the point. That's where Ye is at. He got to that point where he's tired. He ain't gonna keep continuing to hold this and hang this thing over my head, talking about I ain't got it right when I know I got it right. So yeah, that's my opinion.
Anybody want to respond to that?
7344. I'll respond.
Okay, go ahead.
They didn't take his rights away to say what he wanted to say because he said it. What he said had nothing to do with the government taking any rights from him. Remember, the freedom of speech, we're talking about that amendment. The government cannot do anything to you for exercising freedom of speech. But if you go on your job, and your boss says, I want you to do this, that, and the other, your freedom of speech say, I'm not doing, it. So you have your freedom of speech, but what's going to happen? So you don't care if you lose your job, you don't care if you lose your financial blessings or whatever from your job or your contract. You got to know if you got some business you're doing, your words mean something, because in some of these contracts, it says about your interactions and words you use and what you say if you are a part of their companies. So those are your consequences. So sometimes you hang yourself with your consequences by not looking at what you can and can't say or do, and you're in business. You're in business.
I've been waiting on this conversation. I've been waiting on this a long time, Brother John.
Go ahead, brother.
I feel what she's saying, and I'm not mad at you, man, because that's the way that they got us thinking. They got us thinking that if I say this because I'm under contract, they got us thinking just because they gave me this job. See, first of all, people must understand, me myself, like the person y'all talk to on the phone, I own myself. I mean, I don't work for nobody. I don't clock in, so I can say what I want to say. I mean, can't nobody take nothing from me. Nothing that I have gained myself. You know what I'm saying? And that's where these guys like Kyrie Irving, you know what I'm saying? No, Ye. That's what Ye is trying to say. Ye trying to say is when you own yourself. Everybody's trying to say, why you always talking about money, Ye? Because if you got the money, remember his song, he say, you can't tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. That when he got his money up, that's because he owned himself. He have the leverage and the freedom to be able to have liberation. And they only take money. See, people got to stop caring about money. You know what I'm saying? You got to stop caring about, you know what I'm saying, being used and being sold by these people that's telling you that you can't speak for your freedom. It's really the freedom of speech. When you have freedom of speech, you're speaking your way into freedom. So if somebody call you a nigga, a slave all the time, and you saying in your mind that I'm not a nigga, a slave, and you convincing in the world of the United States where you have the freedom to show somebody that you're not a nigga slave, then you're going to sit up there and you're going to do that. But you shouldn't sit up there and be punished, you know what I'm saying, because you got the right to seek your freedom. That's what you're doing, the right to be free. No dictatorship. But at the same time, they sold us that. They told us we had the right. But that was all being Mr. Nice system that they set up to be. And then when it's time, when they got all the power in their hand, and it's time to sit up there and control some things, then they put these stipulations against you. The reason why I feel like this is this, when I was living in Elkhart, Indiana, I was the youth supervisor over the city park district called Tulsa. A lot of stuff was going on, like the violence, you know what I'm saying? The same stuff that I engaged in up there, I was engaged in here, I was engaged in up there. But I had more awareness, notoriety, more people knew me because it was a smaller town. So the mayor ended up finding out that, hey, you know what I'm saying, what church I went to, and when he really found out that I worked for Tosin, you know what I'm saying, the city park, which he oversees as mayor, they sent the park administrator to have a sit down with me and try to hush me up, all on behalf of my freedom of speech. My only thing my freedom of speech was saying was that I'm sick and tired of Washington Garden children being shot at and everything. There's no police patrol. I mean, I had the right to sit up there and voice out some type of order. And they called themselves, in their way, fired me because I had the right to speak. So which one is it? Do I have the right to speak, or do I got the right to shut up? Or is it a privilege to speak? You don't give me that. It's a privilege to drive. No, it's not. You got the right to drive. You bought their vehicle. You gave them your identification. You wrote your name on there. You signed your thing. That is your right. But they sit up there and they take it and put in the terminology of their own to continue to have control. And we buy into it. So now we on the phone conversation. Well, if you got a contract, you don't have to. Man, I don't care what company I work for. I don't care nothing about their policy. If it's anything about race, they don't have the right to be racist. They don't have the right to be president. They don't even have the right to sit up there and put the policies that they put in that sits up there and stops us from having the freedom that we have even when we own our job. So guess what I'd rather do? Work for myself. Engineer, you're right, we gotta be free. We gotta separate ourselves from the mess of what they're telling us we can't do and start showing them that we can do what we want to do. We can say what we want to say. And we all will be okay.
Yeah, well, in order to do that, we can't continue to get in bed with them. Once we get in bed with them, then there's all these stipulations. You work for them now. You essentially signing over your rights, all of this stuff. When you signing over, you signing your salary. Not only are you saying, I agree to all of these, I'm going to get health benefits. I'm going to get $80K a year. Yeah, you finna shut your mouth and do what we tell you to do, too.
Well, I don't agree with doing what they're saying like that. If you sign a contract,
hold on, brother. Let the sister talk. Let the sister talk. Go ahead, sister.
If you sign a contract for a job, you sign a contract for a business, you have to read the fine print. There's stipulations. So if you're on your job and you feel like you can say what you want to say, then you just gave up your freedom. There are boundaries and rules in this country, in this world we live in. Everybody has rules and conditions for which you work under. So when you take that job, you're accepting their conditions and their rules. So you got to follow somebody's rules. So you're not going to be free to say what you want to say and they giving you a paycheck because you're representing their company.
But
You're
Shaq
representing that company.
But Shaq and Charles Barkley could go on national TV and call their fellow brother an idiot because they speaking up for the right of it. You know, ma'am, that what Ye say and what Kyrie say is nothing wrong. They have the right to find out their heritage and who they from and everything. And Ye have the right to expose what's going on with these Jewish people because he has the right to protect us from that. But
you're right. He does have the right, but he also has to respect the boundaries of the contracts he signed with the people that are paying him.
He got two brothers. He got two black men who got freedom of speech too. Tell him that he wrong for using freedom of speech and he an idiot. You know how that makes us as all of the black people look. No matter what Ye did, no matter what he said, he was standing up for black folks. But you got black folks in the same free country. It's
not a free country.
Telling people like Kyrie that they can't say stuff like that. Just shut up and sit up there and make your money. You can't sit up there and tell Jay to shut up and make his money with his money is his money. He's still making money right now. They ain't take everything.
They're looking at the business side of it. Charles Barkley and Shaq are about making money. They're about having big money. What they're saying is, why would you mess up your financial wealth just saying something? That's their opinion. And you know what? That's their freedom of speech. So how you going to say you can give it to Kanye for freedom of speech because Charles Barkley and Shaq said what they said, that was their freedom of speech. You can't judge them on their freedom of speech and then be against be for Kanye and be against them. Kanye had his freedom of speech. Them two had their freedom of speech.
Well, let me just, I want to say this.
One thing I want to say is,
go ahead.
We have to be, okay.
Go ahead, brother.
I just want to say real quick, we have to be mindful of the time in which this Constitution was wrote. Black people was 3/5 of a person. We was considered property, animals, dogs, you know what I mean? And so we wasn't even in the picture when this Constitution was written. So it definitely wasn't meant for someone that looked like me and you, Martin, to be out here saying anything. We couldn't even express understanding that we even knew how to read or any, you know what I mean? Like any inkling that they knew that we were competent or literate, they was finna kill us. And so this wasn't fit for us. So it's kind of a representation. So, you know, several thousand years later or hundreds of years later, it's a representation of we still your slave master. You can't, especially a black person. Had it been a white person said the exact same thing, I guarantee it wouldn't be this much backlash. You can't name 5 white people who say whatever they want that has faced the same financial, social, political sanctions. It just don't happen. White people can get away with this stuff. At the end of the day, it's still that slave master mentality. And you're a boy and you better not speak out of turn. That's what it comes down to.
Give us no freedom of speech. Right, look, we got to look past all of the basic lies that we looking at. You know what I'm saying? Everything, we are being sold. We're being sold into the fact of having no freedom of speech. We're being sold in the fact of hating each other, which gives us another no freedom of speech because we don't have no strength in it. You know what I'm saying? We've been sold into the fact that everybody's more important than we are. They give us no freedom because we don't know who we are, so we don't have no freedom to think. You know what I'm saying? We've been sold all of it to a glamorous cloud of a lie, and here we sitting up here thinking right now that we got freedom. No, we're fighting for our freedom of speech right now as we speak.
All right, let me just say this.
Well, I want to,
ma'am, I want you to hold 1 second. I just want to make a comment, then you can go ahead, okay? All right. The First Amendment gives us 5 basic freedoms: freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of petition, freedom of assembly, and freedom of religion. 5 things: speech, press, petition, assembly, and religion. Now, I'll rest my case. Go ahead, guys. Y'all can talk. Go ahead, young lady.
Well, I wanted to say, it's a person on your comment said they did nothing wrong by speaking up. And she says, old girl on the line, I don't get it. No, I get it. I didn't say they said anything wrong. I said they had freedom of speech just like Kanye had freedom of speech. So I'm not taking it up for anybody. Freedom of speech is freedom of speech. So I get it. I've been in the world long enough to know I was around for the civil rights movement. I was around for the racism. I was in Florida, and that's one of the most racist states there is. So I get it. I'm just saying freedom of speech is for everybody. All those freedoms Martin just mentioned, they're for everybody. But because of the economical world and all the business dealings that these people get in with, that they sign contracts for, they got to have some boundaries on their freedom of speech. We all have that right, but we got to be ready to face the consequences of the words we use based on how this America views it. This America views it. We're African Americans. We're saying what we want to say, but you got contracts with people making money. You got to be ready to deal with the consequences. I get it. Everybody has the right to say what they want to say without any backlash from the government. But these businesses are not the government.
I will never in my life sell my soul to a. If I go broke, I go homeless, I lose everything. If I got to sit up there and if that's the way that it shows my people to have real freedom, I'll lose everything. Y'all sitting around here and y'all caring about what y'all got, and it ain't y'all anyway. You know what I'm saying? So y'all gonna continue to give them the power to let y'all have, let y'all keep, and still have the power to take if they want to. No, give it back. Give it back. And then build your own freedom for real then. Stop caring about what they could take from you. Stop caring about being broke. We've been broke a long time. We've been slaves a long time. We've been hungry a long time. We've been robbed, cheated, raped. We done been through the mass of the worst. And we still worrying about if we can be a millionaire. We still worry about we can keep this TV show. We still worry about we can get that house. We still worry. No, let's go back to the cotton field. That's what we need, because we got lazy on this. We don't want to work too hard, so let's shut up. We don't want to do what it takes, so let's shut up. Let's be quiet.
Now,
I don't think that's it. I think people have got accustomed to having a quality of life that they're accustomed to. You want people to just give up the quality of life they're accustomed to because we don't have freedom of speech.
Well, y'all
want to live and have freedom? Yes.
Well, let me go back again. The freedom of speech is freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of petition, freedom of assembly, and freedom of religion. Those are the 5 areas that the amendment kept. Now what it isn't. Now, as I said, you can't go in a building, a theater, somewhere with a crowd of people there and scream fire, because that's not freedom of speech. That's not. Or you go into a setting where there's one race of people and you start screaming racial slurs and things like that. That's called exciting a riot. So those are things that it's not. That's what I want to say. Okay, y'all can talk. All right.
I don't believe that they.
Well, I just feel that we have to get rid of that plantation mentality. Sometimes we put ourselves in that plantation mentality. I mean, I look at it like this: everything works, everything goes well till African Americans get in the economical part of making money. Then the rules change. The rules change. But this is what America has done for us African Americans. Okay? Now, like with the stock exchange. Now, black folks got stock now. All the rules change. The losses and gains. The losses are more than the gains and stuff. Because once we get involved, when we're making money, the rules change. And that's because of corporate America. And that's because the government allows corporate America, because that's who makes their money. So it's all an economical, political process. But your freedom of speech is your right. I'm just saying, say what you want to say what you got to say, but just be ready for the consequences. I mean, this was taught in school about the consequences of you saying the wrong thing. You have to remember, if it's your job, if it's a contract, whoever you involve yourself in business with, you got your freedom of speech, but then they got their rules. So you got to choose which stance you want to take. If you want to be homeless, you want to be outdoors, that's your choice. That's your freedom too. I choose to have some heat, a stove, some clothes, some warmth. You got to have some boundaries on the quality of life you want. If you don't care, then that's on you. That's your freedom. You have to choose which stance you want to make. I didn't say nobody said anything wrong. You got your rights. But you also got to look at your choices and consequences. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and close this out. I'm going to give everybody 2 minutes to close the statement. I'm going to start with 7708, and he could say something. I think my partner's still on here. I want her to just give a closed remark, but be careful what you say, you know. So, all right. 7708, 2 minutes. What's your overall thought? What have you learned today? Or are you still confused, or what's going on?
Well, we know that these laws were not made with us in mind, and Black people need to be aware of that. So as we navigate through these white systems, none of the rules apply to us like they apply to them. So even if we abide by the rules, it still don't work for us. So freedom of speech is not necessarily freedom of speech. You can't really say what you want. Yeah, you can kind of utter something out your mouth and you may not necessarily get arrested, but guess what? You might get arrested and they might justify it. And you might spend 3 nights in jail just for them to give you a hard time, even if you followed your quote unquote constitutional rights. So it's all a joke. It's all a game. And if we don't understand and don't recognize this a game, then we all doomed to fail, you know. And so these jobs, when we enter them, we're supposed to, as they say, capitulate. When you sign your name over, you signing your rights over. No different than a record deal. You know, you literally are signing certain rights away. I don't care what the government say. These occupational rules trump all of that. So how is the occupation higher than the government? And they not carrying out the stuff that the government set forth. It's just a joke. And that's all I'm going to say about it.
Okay. Hold it right there, sir. Hey, Vicky, you can call this number 872-299-0808. Again, 872-299-0808. I'll give you 2 minutes if you call in because we can have our closer comments. Okay, is that 7344? Your turn to talk. Go ahead, 7344. Yes. Go ahead. 2 minutes, and we closing it out. What you go ahead.
Someone just put in your feed that this is something that should be taught at home and not in schools. Now, when I say it was taught in school, I'm talking about the First Amendment, because back in the day, we had to take a Constitution test. So First Amendment was taught in school. I'm not talking about the values of what we're talking about. When I say it was taught in school, I'm talking about the actual First Amendment. But like I said, we can all speak freely, have our freedom of speech, but we have to be mindful of what we connect to in business. The government is not giving you backlash over freedom of speech. But if you're in corporate America, because that's who actually runs the government, corporate America, that's where they get their money from. You have to be mindful of what you sign. Because once you sign your name, like the gentleman said earlier, you're really signing away some of your rights. Because you're signing your name to that contract saying, I'm going to do with y'all how y'all want me to do it. And if you say something against what you sign, then that's where you mess up on the business side. You got to just pick your battle.
Okay. All right. 6112. You're my last person. 2 minutes. 6112.
I'm here. We have been given a battle to fight that we didn't choose. So we really every single the whole punch, the whole 12 rounds, if we want to call everything we go through, let's call it 12 rounds. We didn't choose it. We was given it to fight, but we wasn't ready when we was given it. And to pick a battle, no, we need to take every single battle and fight it. Freedom of speech, we have our right to do it. You know what I'm saying? We can't let corporations, we can't let the society, the government, underhand, how they play a scandal hand in it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? The government is the ones that put the legislation and the laws. Everything that's done is to stop the freedom of speech for us. So we need to learn that. And we need to just stand up in our own strength.
Turn your phone down, Facebook down. Turn your Facebook, because I hear an echo. Facebook all the way down or off. Okay.
If we stand up in our own strength, we ain't got to worry about if we got freedom of speech. We know we ain't got no freedom of speech out here. If I sit up there and went on Channel 9 News tomorrow and everybody around the Chicago scene, and you're gonna have somebody calling, talking about who is that guy. Some people support me and some people hate me only because they hate the fact of what I said, which proves that you don't have the right of freedom of speech.
Well,
Then they're gonna be locking me up. Look
well,
what happened, Fred.
let me just say something.
Revolution.
Let me say something. Freedom of speech is sometimes when you say freedom of speech, that don't mean necessarily everybody's going to agree with your speech. So let me just say it, throw that out what it's not. So you have the right for your opinion, your freedom of speech. You might say this particular religion is the best out of all of them. And you might offend a lot of people, but you didn't do anything wrong. You just said that was your right to freedom of press, freedom of religion. You said what you said. That's all I want to say. Go ahead, my brother. Give you another minute, and that's it. Yeah, go ahead.
So I would close by saying we haven't been seeing freedom of speech. You know what I'm saying? In the past, I say since King, those when we was really looking at people out there with freedom of speech and fighting. You know what I'm saying? Now everybody's pretty much behind the door because they don't want to be seen of saying what it is. And you speaking for the right thing. So with me, I'll close out saying this. There's a generation that's rising up that don't care about what they think about. Gonna speak for our freedom. And that's all we got. And we ain't got nothing else. All we got is our voice to speak for our freedom. And with that, I'll close.
All right, people. Thank y'all for tuning in. As usual, I didn't comment. I'm just telling you what it is and what it's not. So I wanted to hear from your voice. Thank you for calling in. Shortly, I will be going live again, probably around 10:05. So make sure you tune in. And that segment is going to be a very interesting segment. Please tune in. And do me a favor, everybody that's listening to this live, please share this live. Please share it. Thank you so much. I'll be back live in probably another 15 minutes with a different subject and a different topic. Thank you guys for tuning in. I want to thank all my wonderful guests. I want to thank my partners, Vera, Stephanie. I want to thank all of you, my panel, the Rev. Hey, thank you guys for tuning in. And the older lady, I call her a young lady, but I always call everybody a young lady. She said she's been around a long time. Thank you guys for all your opinions, even if I don't agree, but this is freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom to petition, freedom of religion. So thank you guys so much. Enjoy your day. And I'll see you in a little bit.
Uncut, unedited.